1. Against house. Repetition is the key to success in any sport, especially lacrosse. Young players can spend endless hours performing a specific skill by themselves, such as working on the fundamentals of throwing and catching, which will ultimately improve their team play during game situations. In this drill, a player plays catch against the side of the house. Young players need to consider safety, as well as prevent potential damage to the house. Therefore, parents should always be aware of how their children are using their sports equipment around the house. Here, the player is substituting a tennis ball for a regulation lacrosse ball. The constant repetition will only help the player in their overall skills. Youth players are encouraged to be creative with limited space. Not having a partner to play catch with should not stop players from practicing their skills. 2. Against wall. This drill is similar to the previous one and is great for younger players learning to be comfortable handling a bouncing ball. In this drill, a player throws a tennis ball off of a low wall and must cleanly secure the return. Instead of catching a fly ball, as in the previous drill, the players will get accustomed to receiving ground balls, which bounce erratically on the blacktop of their driveways. Young players should not be overly concerned with fundamentals. They should instead focus on the feeling of a successful scooping. Many team sports have individual skills that players can practice on their own. Unless the sport requires special equipment or conditions, such as ice for ice hockey, the athlete can usually find enough space to practice. And it doesn't have to be at a suburban house. All of these drills can also be practiced in the inner city or schoolyard. 3. Wall ball game. Wall ball is a progression of the previous drill. This creative game of wall ball only requires 2 players and a hardtop area such as a driveway. Creating their own boundaries, the players will alternate throwing the ball off the wall for the other to catch and secure successfully. The object of the game is to make your opponent mishandle the ball or get it by him. Players can play up to a certain amount of points or could make it a timed competition. A game like this simulates game-like conditions. It stresses staying in front of the ball, as well as proper throwing and receiving fundamentals. Remember, players, no matter what age, love competition. Depending on age and skill level, participants can widen the playing area to make it more difficult to reach some of the balls. 4. Bounce back wall. Some players might be fortunate to have access to a return net. This return net is a great piece of equipment for lacrosse players in honing their catching and throwing skills. Keep in mind that lacrosse players, as well as athletes in other sports, should never feel that they're not able to practice if they do not have a return net. It's important for younger players to feel what it's like for the ball to successfully land in their stick's pocket. Using a return net will condition that feeling and only enhance confidence. Even skilled players will utilize a return net to work on their hand-eye coordination and transitioning from catch to cradle to offensive move. 5. Cradling. Cradling is the most important fundamental in lacrosse. Many of the other skills, such as running, passing, and avoiding defenders, cannot be accomplished without first mastering proper cradling techniques. Players who cradle too fast or too wide will tend to lose control of the ball. The most common mistake is to cradle at the waist, which would leave the stick open to oncoming defenders. Controlled stick head rotation by the face requires strong dominant hand-wrist action. Only practice and repetition can ensure a comfortable cradling technique without fear of losing control of the ball. Players must cradle in the imaginary box formed by 2 or 3 inches above the head to 2 or 3 inches off the shoulder. This would be the hardest area for opponents to knock the ball away. The non-dominant hand at the bottom of the stick is used as a guide for cradling rotation and should not have a tight grip. Players should practice cradling in a stationary position until graduating to cradling while on the run. 6. Cradling on the run. Lacrosse is a fast-paced game with players always on the run. Even though it's a great idea to practice cradling in a stationary position, players must also perfect this skill while charging down the field to simulate more realistic game conditions. Cradling on the run is a much more technical exercise, but should become habitual in games. All of the cradling fundamentals discussed in the previous drill apply while in motion. Any improper cradling fundamentals will only be magnified if continued while cradling on the run. Performing this drill at a slow pace is the best way to introduce oneself to this very important skill. As players become more comfortable, they can cradle and run at full speed. A drill like this is also a great introduction to stick protection while on the move. 7. Cradling, both hands. Lacrosse is truly an ambidextrous sport. Players must be comfortable cradling with both hands to keep their stick away from oncoming defenders. In this drill, the participants alternate using both their dominant and non-dominant hands to cradle the ball while on the run. Every time the participants reach a cone, they switch their sticks to the other side of their body, as if they're shielding a defender. In doing so, they must switch their hands on the stick in one seamless move. This drill is also great for conditioning, stick control, and introducing the concept of changing directions. Changing directions is extremely important in an open field sport like lacrosse. Again, proper cradling technique should be reinforced, such as keeping the head of the stick in the imaginary pocket formed by the player's shoulder, chin, and head, as well as using the wrist to rotate the stick head, not the arms. 8. Catch right, throw right. Unlike baseball, lacrosse is a sport that players must be able to use both of their hands to throw and catch. Players have a tendency to be stronger on one side of their body, which is perfectly normal. However, there will be situations in games where right-handed dominant players must be able to get off a pass from their left side, or vice versa. Even catching a ball on one's non-dominant side could be tricky, yet essential for being a complete lacrosse player. Therefore, players must be comfortable passing and receiving in every combination. In this drill, the player is catching on one side, the right, and throwing from the same side. It's important to catch the ball correctly. The player must be transitioning into the cradle as he receives the ball in the pocket. The receiver should show a target with their stick in the box area and bring the ball right to his face for protection. When passing the ball, the passer should step toward the target and follow through with his stick, pointing the head of the stick at the intended target. 9. Catch right, throw left. It's important to learn how to catch on one side of the body and throw from the other side. It will afford the player more options of escaping defenders and to find open teammates. Players are limited in the number of teammates they can pass to if they are restricted to only passing on the same side they caught the ball on. In this drill, the players are catching on the right side and throwing from the left side. Defensive schemes, teammate positioning, and endurance will help dictate how the player receives and throws the ball, and which side of his body he will do this from. 10. Catch left, throw left. Another variation of the previous two drills is to catch left and throw left. This skill would be particularly difficult for right-handed players, especially having to cradle with strong wrist action on their non-dominant side. The only way to feel comfortable switching from the dominant to non-dominant side is through repetition. Passes should be accurate and by the receiver's face so they can transition easily into a cradle position. Young players have a tendency not to use their legs when they pass. The legs provide much of the power, and young lacrosse players need to realize this. 11. Catch left, throw right. The remaining variation is to catch left and throw right. Again, players never know which side of the body they are going to have to throw from. Even if they receive the ball from their left side, the opportunity to pass downfield may only be available by throwing from the opposite side of the body. Young players forget to switch their hand positions on the stick when transitioning across the body. In this case, players will throw the ball with their arms crossed, yielding a very weak and inaccurate pass. That's why players must be comfortable throwing from both sides. It cannot be stressed enough. It may seem like the last 4 drills were all the same. However, mastering the subtle differences will make for a well-rounded lacrosse player. 12. Catch and roll. Catch and roll is a technique whereby the player shields the ball with his body while pivoting to the other side to get off a pass or shot. This is a more advanced variation of the previous drills that had the players catching on one side of the body and throwing on the opposite side. As if avoiding an oncoming defender, the player protects the ball by putting himself between the defender and the ball. As the player pivots to the other side for an open view of the field, he must switch his hands on the stick so that he can throw with the opposite hand he caught the ball with. During the pivot, the player must keep the stick close to his body, out of reach from any defenders. Players must make sure that they do not cradle the ball before they receive the ball. This is a common mistake and will lead to changes of possession. More advanced players can add a defender to the drill to give them a visual to pivot away from. 13. Over the shoulder. Many times players do not receive perfect chest-high passes. Players must be comfortable catching all different types of passes while on the run, especially ones from behind. If players can catch the ball in stride, they can use their momentum to take the ball downfield without losing any ground on their defenders. In this drill, a coach leads his players with passes down the field. The players must find the ball over their shoulder and make the catch, quickly transitioning into a cradle position without slowing down. It's like a football receiver catching the ball on the run in front of them. Coaches should throw the ball over both shoulders, forcing his players to use both hands when catching. Coaches should also have their players rotate as thrower. It is also important to learn how to lead teammates with accurate passes. This drill is perfect for this. 14. Two-line passing. To be a good lacrosse player, you have to be able to catch the ball on the run. In this simple drill, 2 players run side by side down the field while playing catch. Like any other ball sport, particularly basketball and baseball, the best technique for catching is to watch the ball. Never take your eye off it, even if a defender is right by you. Always watch the ball into the stick. It's much easier to catch if you have your top hand close to the head of your stick, and if you give with the ball as you catch it, like a hockey player does when receiving a puck with the blade of the stick. Never try to snatch at the ball. Otherwise, the ball will likely drop out of your stick's pocket. 15. Three-person two-ball. In this drill, an active player stands in between 2 passers. Both passers begin with the ball. On the go command, the passer facing the active player's back throws the ball toward the active player as he turns around. The active player must turn around, find the ball, catch it using all of the fundamentals discussed in the previous drills, and immediately throw the ball back. He then changes directions and performs the exact same skill with the other passer. The players do this for a number of repetitions before rotating. Every player should have a chance to be the active player in the middle. Fundamentals should be practiced and reinforced. The pace can increase, thereby creating a dual-purpose drill that also works on endurance. Along with an increase in the pace of the drill, the length or space between the players can also increase to make the throws harder. If a coach has an entire team of players, he can split the team in groups of 3 and perform this drill as a competition. The team who completes the most passes in a predetermined time is the winner. 16. Quick stick. Many of the drills up until now have been performed at a moderate speed. In this drill, the quick throw, the players who are in a stationary position have to control each pass and then throw it back to the other player as quickly as possible. This game of hot potato with lacrosse equipment is an excellent skill for players to practice at all levels. Along with promoting proper catching and throwing fundamentals, it also teaches getting rid of the ball quickly to teammates with better scoring opportunities. 17. Oncoming catch. In lacrosse, there are situations when the potential receiver of a pass has to come toward the passer. When the lacrosse ball is passed this way, it's called an oncoming catch. Here we have two players, and the player without the ball will run toward the player with the ball. This effective drill, which stresses a situation that occurs often in games, is excellent to practice because it conditions the players into realizing that they do not have to create passing opportunities only by moving downfield. Remember that in lacrosse, like other sports, players have to learn to make catches in all types of situations with all types of distractions. In most scenarios, players should move toward the person throwing them the ball. This drill is great for individuals as well as groups. The benefit of this drill is that players learn how to catch and throw the lacrosse ball, as well as communicate in a shrinking area. 18. Shooting technique. Let's listen to high school varsity coach Eamon DePeter go over the fundamentals of the proper shooting technique.
Some of the wrong ways is if, first off, they bring the stick all the way down here like this. When they try to shoot it, it's going to shoot straight up in the air. Second wrong way that a lot of kids use is they shoot it sidearm. All right? You don't have a lot of accuracy when you shoot it sidearm or underhand. Okay? So we teach 3/4 or overhand. That's the correct way to do it. Sometimes if they keep their front elbow down and they try to shoot, it's going to go straight down to the ground. All right? You have to keep that elbow up right into your chin, right into your shoulder. Okay? So that's there. If you point your foot the wrong way, I'm shooting at the goal straight away, but I step over here, the ball's going to go off to the side. Okay? So you want to point straight to where you're shooting. Okay? A lot of times people just shoot with their arms. They don't use their legs. All right? All the momentum, all the energy is coming from your legs. So that's why you take the quick step. And then the last thing a lot of people do wrong is they stop right there. Okay? Stop right there. You're not getting all the power on it. You got to follow through and bring this leg around.
In review, when shooting, step into the shot. Do not shoot with just your upper body. Keep the elbow up, point your foot at the intended target, come over the top or 3/4 arm angle, and follow through with a stick. 19. Elementary shooting. This is a great repetitive drill that works on a young player's shooting fundamentals. It's a basic drill that even the most skilled player can get something out of, whether it's working on shooting accuracy or correct footwork. The coach or parent throws a tennis ball to the player. She must collect the ball and hit a tarp with her shot that is set up within the confines of the backyard. As the player's skill increases, he or she can move further away from the target and make the target smaller. Really young players especially love doing this drill. For younger players, coaches and parents do not have to emphasize technique. It's more important for them to achieve the success of hitting the target any way they can. 20. Target practice. This is a variation of the previous drill, stressing accuracy. Athletes of all ages love challenges and competition. In this drill, a cone is set up on top of 3 boxes. The object of the drill is to knock down the cone. A parent can easily set up this fun drill in the backyard or a confined area. Tennis balls should be used. When the players are fed the balls, shooting fundamentals should be reinforced. Shooting techniques such as stepping to where the player wants the ball to go, as well as using the legs and following through, are some of the fundamentals players need to make into habits. They will be more accurate when they practice proper fundamentals. This drill can become a competition. The first player to knock down the cone wins. Younger players can receive a point for knocking down the boxes and 2 points for knocking down the cone. Drills like this will make for more accurate shooters in games. 21. Hit the woodpile. Being creative in one's backyard will help expand the number of drills young athletes can do. It will make practicing more stimulating, and thinking up creative drills can also carry over into competition, creating impulsive plays. In this drill, we are using a woodpile on the property as a shooting target. A predetermined number of tennis balls lay scattered behind the player. On the go command, the player turns around, scoops up one of the balls, cradles, and shoots the ball at the woodpile. Before picking up the next ball, the player must touch the cone with her stick. The goal is to try to shoot all of the balls within a predetermined amount of time, which the coach counts down as the player runs through the drill. The drill can also be set up with the balls in front of the player. In this setup, the player must run through the ball as she scoops it so she can use her momentum to get off a good shot. All of the shooting drills should be performed with both hands. Again, the woodpile is an easy target. If you don't have a woodpile in your backyard, be creative and find other props around the house to use as targets. Players can adjust the distance from the target according to skill level. 22. Shooting on the run. Very rarely players will receive passes while stationary in games. It's important to be able to catch and shoot while on the run, because it'll open up a lot of scoring opportunities in games. Remember that it's also beneficial to practice shooting from a stationary position, but lacrosse is a fast game, and practicing specific game conditions are the best drills. A drill like this can be practiced with an entire team or with just 2 rotating players. Shooters must remember to step into their shot, point their foot at the target, come over the top with the elbow up, and follow through. The tarp serves as an excellent target to shoot at, but any household prop would be useful targets. 23. High-low. In this drill called high-low, a parent or coach is putting a straight line of masking tape across the blue tarp.
Low.
And please keep in mind that a wall is just as good with a chalk line. The coach or parent will throw the ball to the player, and as he throws it, he'll yell out either high or low.
Low.
Upon hearing the call, the player must react and throw the ball either high or low.
High.
This drill is working on reaction, accuracy, and technique. The distance in this drill can be increased depending upon age or ability. Again, we want to emphasize for young players that shooting into a large target is an excellent way to have the player experience success.
High.
24. Corners. This is a variation of the previous drill. Now we're getting into a more advanced shooting drill. The coach tapes an X on each corner of the tarp.
Top right.
As the ball is thrown to the player, the parent or coach will yell one of the shooting options available.
Top left.
Such as top right, top left,
Bottom left.
bottom right, and bottom
left.
This drill is especially challenging for the athlete to pay attention and listen.
Top right. Top right.
In this drill, we see the speed of the shots being generated at a faster pace.
Top left.
Sometimes, shooters don't have that much space to shoot if the goalie and the defenders are playing the right angles.
Top right.
This excellent drill forces the advanced player to perfect shooting into a very small target to simulate this.
Bottom left. Top right. Top left.
25. Rapid fire. If players are fortunate to have their own net, it would be beneficial for them to use it for many of the previous shooting drills already illustrated, because that is what they'll be shooting at in games, and they should condition themselves to the dimensions of the target. Practicing shooting at short distances is excellent for knowing and being aware of the exact target size the player is shooting at. Here, the player is shooting into the corner, which is the best place to shoot in lacrosse. 26. Stick protection.
What we're talking about now is stick protection. Now, first off, everything, when you have your stick, everything is up here, up by your head. The head of the stick It's by your head, okay? When you're cradling it, you're using your body as protection, okay? Lacrosse, the other team is trying to take it away from you, trying to take it out of your stick. So what you want to do is when you're cradling it, you want to keep it as close to your head as possible, as parallel to your body as possible, and you can use your shoulder to protect the stick. So if I'm like this, it's hard for someone coming from the camera to try to take the ball away from me because they can't see that much of the stick and use their stick to take it out. So anytime we're running, we want to keep the stick up here, protected, and we're using our shoulder.
27. Face dodge. There are different types of dodges in lacrosse to duke defenders. Here the players are practicing the face dodge at each cone. A face dodge is a simple and effective dodge. You charge at the person that's guarding you. Then you pull back like you're going to shoot, but instead pull your stick back across your face to the opposite ear as you change direction and sprint by the defenseman. Now the player has the option to shoot, drive, or pass. When performing a face dodge, the player keeps the stick in the same hand. This drill is basic yet effective, and is a progression-type drill to eventually do with defenders. 28. Split dodge. The split dodge is somewhat similar to the face dodge. You charge at the defenseman, in this case the cones, and act like you're going to run on by to one side. You then quickly plant your foot, and then you bring your stick across your face, switching hands. You sprint by, and now have the option to pass, shoot, or drive. It's similar to the crossover in basketball. Remember, in lacrosse, when you are attacking, you want to make sure you have as many options as possible with the ball. 29. Roll dodge. This dodge is easier and more effective for the quicker players. You can do this dodge if you feel that the defenseman is guarding one of your hands more than the other hand. You plant your foot between the defenseman's feet, keeping your back to the defenseman. You then spin around the defenseman, or in this case a cone, to the side of the hand that he was not guarding as tight as the other. You switch to the less guarded hand, which should catch the defenseman off balance. You speed past him and now can pass, shoot, or drive to the goal. 30. Scooping fundamentals. In games, the lacrosse ball ends up on the ground numerous times. Scooping is a very important yet highly underrated part of the game of lacrosse. When scooping a loose lacrosse ball, players tend to rake at the ball, using the head of the stick to roll the ball back into the pocket. This method is incorrect. The right method for scooping is to attack the ball as if you were shoveling snow under the ball. The player scooping the ball should scrape their knuckles on the ground as they pick up the ball. This skill takes practice and repetition for players to feel comfortable scooping. Inexperienced players will also tend to stab at the ball, not getting under it, which will lead to changes of possession. After scooping the ball, the player should cradle the ball by the ear. Players can also practice scooping while on the run to simulate a more realistic game situation. 31. Three-person two-ball, ground balls. Unlike the earlier man-in-the-middle drill, this variation is performed with the ball on the ground. Instead of the two throwers throwing the ball to the player in the middle, they roll the ball. The player will run toward each thrower and scoop up the ball and throw it back, and then turn to do the same thing with the other thrower. A number of things are being practiced here. Scooping techniques, as well as throwing techniques, are being utilized in this drill. Conditioning can also benefit from this drill. And remember to reinforce fundamentals with young players. After a few repetitions, players should rotate spots. 32. On stomach. This drill begins with the player on his stomach. The coach or parent, standing behind him, will roll the ball in front of him. As soon as the ball is seen by the player, he gets up and runs to the ball which is rolling away from him or has come to a complete stop, and scoops it up. This is an excellent conditioning drill that also is reinforcing scooping techniques. Remember that when scooping the ball, do not rake the ball into the pocket because it's too dangerous for maintaining control. (33) On back. This drill is the same as the previous drill, except the player will start on his back. When he sees the coach or parent roll the ball, he immediately gets to his feet and scoops the ball. He should find the ball as quickly as possible. Both these drills are good because they emphasize recovery and ball control. (34) Turn and shoot.
Turn, woodpile.
This is an excellent shooting drill.
Turn, fence.
The player will have his back to the coach, and when the coach or parent yells
Dart.
turn, the player will turn and face the coach,
Turn, tarp.
who has also shouted out one of 3 targets he wants the player to shoot
Tarp.
at.
Turn, fence.
In this case,
Turn.
we are using 3
Fence.
backyard things for targets: the woodpile, the fence, and the blue tarp. This is a very good reaction drill,
Tarp.
and the player is learning to listen, then react.
Turn, fence. Come to me.
Remember that in
Turn,
lacrosse,
woodpile.
as in most other sports, shooting drills are the most popular.
Woodpile.
35. Last man standing. In this shooting game, we're combining numerous aspects of shooting in lacrosse along with some fun.
Take a walk.
A cone is set up on top of a couple of boxes in front of a lacrosse net. The goal is to get the ball inside the net without knocking down the cone.
You're in.
If the ball knocks down the cone or goes outside the net, the player is out and will have to sit.
You're in.
The last man standing is the winner. This game is teaching the players to aim for the corners of the net, which is the best place to shoot, and gives the shooter the best chance to score. A variation of this game is to have the players moving toward the net and shooting. (36) Equipment overview.
This is what a player will wear, full equipment for boys lacrosse. First thing is a helmet. You got the chin strap on both sides. It's 2. This is a type of helmet. It's a Cascade. Okay, there are different ones out there right now. Okay, Drew's got a mouthpiece. Okay, to protect your teeth, just in case anything comes through a stick or anything like that. Shoulder pads protect here. Some of them go around the arm right here, and right in the chest and the back. Okay. He's not wearing rib pads right now, but there are rib pads that when a player is younger, they might wear them right around through here, just protect, because people swinging their sticks right around there. Elbow pads are necessary, and you need to have them all times. You have to be wearing them. 2 elbow pads, 2 gloves. The gloves can't be ripped out or anything like that. You know, the refs will check it one way or the other. And that's basically it. A cup maybe, and the stick, and basically you're ready to go. These are 2 types of sticks. Okay, this is what an attackman or a midfielder would use. It's an offensive short stick. Okay, and this is a long pole or a long stick, which is what a defenseman would use. It's about 6 feet long. You can see the difference. And the third would be a goalie stick, which is wider, about that, but wider head. In women's lacrosse, this is different from women's lacrosse. Women's lacrosse, you're not allowed to have a pocket. This has a pocket. You can see the ball coming through. Okay. Women's lacrosse, you're not allowed to have a pocket, so it looks roughly like that. So it sits right there. It's a little bit harder to throw and catch with.
Here are 5 essential lacrosse tips for improving your game. 1. Players must cradle in the imaginary box formed by 2 or 3 inches above the head to 2 or 3 inches off the shoulder. 2. When shooting, step into the shot. 3. The player scooping the ball should scrape their knuckles on the ground as they pick up the ball. 4. An oncoming catch is excellent to practice because it conditions the players into realizing that they do not have to create passing opportunities only by moving downfield. 5. For younger players, coaches and parents do not have to emphasize technique. It's more important for them to achieve the success of hitting the target any way they can.